Okay, so for my second mini presentation, I chose the concept of universal grammar, and this is a theory that is discussed by Cook in General Models of L2 Learning. He states that universal grammar suggests the teacher should not concentrate on those aspects of syntax that will not automatically be acquired by the students. What this means is that teachers should concentrate on things that are more explicit to the students and not as implicit as other parts of the language. We should be concentrating on things that students will not acquire through experiences outside the classroom, just so that the students become more well versed in their language, meaning that certain things will take place just from being exposed. However, those things that are not common or cannot be acquired over time should be taught explicitly to the students in order for them to understand the language better. In regards to students, Cook says students make few mistakes, for instance, with the word order parameters covered by the theory. Cook then goes on to explain that he has never experienced a child making a mistake such as I live London in. This means that the student is treating English like postpositions come after the noun of the sentence, just like Japanese rather than the prepositions that come in front of it. The reason this mistake is rarely occurs is because the universal grammar principles are often very strong and powerful in the children's mind, and that the teacher has little to do as far in the aspects of language are concerned. This is because the theory focuses on the parts of speech and language that are not easily picked up by children and need to be explicitly taught in order for them to learn it accurately. The other aspects of the language in this theory are viewed as being implicitly taught. So the classroom idea or classroom explanation I had was the story of the R-controlled vulture, which is basically a story that goes through and tells the students how certain R-controlled vowels are pronounced, and it goes through vowels A, E, I, O, and U, and it would be taught with the picture of a tree and then a picture of a vulture and all the vowels. And as the teacher is explaining how each word is pronounced, the vowels will move up into the tree because they are being chased by the mean R vulture. This idea was given to me by Dr. Roberts, the Dean of Mercyhurst Education, in the reading methods class I had taken a couple years ago. And I just thought it's a really good way to explain our controlled vowels to students, and it gives them a way to remember how each word and vowel is pronounced, as well as a visual for that. Here is the R-controlled vowel story. So I'm going to tell it to you as I was speaking to a class. I know you're not going to respond because you can't. This is a presentation, but just for viewing purposes. So it starts off with friends. I am going to tell you a story of a very mean bird I know. His name is the R vulture. He is so mean to my friends the vowels. Can anyone tell me the names of the vowels? And at this point, you would allow for the students to respond. Very good. A, E, I, O, and U are all the names of the vowels that Mr. R. Vulture picks on all the time. Do you want to know how he picks on my friend the vowels? And again, you would allow the students to respond here. And then you would go, when Mr. R. Vulture sees my friend A, he scares her so much she loses her voice. He makes her say his name, just like in the word car. Can we all say car together? And we want to make sure that we're really stressing the at the end so the students can hear it when they are speaking the word car. And then when Mr. R. Vulture sees my friends E, I, and U, they are a little more brave than Miss A. When Mr. R. Vulture chases after them, they get very nervous and their voice starts to shake, just like in the word her, burr, and stir. Can we say her, burr, and stir all together? And you also want to make sure you really stress the ER in those words. Just the shakiness of it really allows the students to hear it as well as feel it in their throat, because when you say it, your throat feels different than when you would say any other words. So that also helps them with the memorization of the R-controlled vowels for E, I, and U. And then the last vowel is Miss O. Now, my friend is Miss O, is the bravest of all the vowels because when Mr. R. Vulture chases after her, she says, "Do not keep chasing after my friends, the vowels, or I will tell your mother." Miss O never loses her voice when she or shakes. She stays strong, just like in the word or. Can we say or together? And for or, you really want to make sure the strongness is projected in your voice so those students hear both the O and the R sound that is being said. Now, in a classroom, you would take more time to go through the story and allow for more students to respond and put the vowels in the tree that was shown in the last slide. So you would take these vowels and put them in the tree as the vulture is chasing them. You could even have like one student be the vulture and chase the vowels up the tree just for a more of an interactive experience. That would be really neat too to do. So the school or language level, I would say for this, it would be like to second grade intermediate level speakers because you are having them do more of the pronunciation and more involved in the words and more involved in the speaking. So this also requires background teaching of how the vowels are pronounced because some kids don't pronounce vowels correctly. So we want to make sure we correct that before we go into this lesson so they're pronouncing all the words and can really hear those R controlled vowels. And the content area would be speaking with R controlled vowels, grammar, and speaking English in general. It's really important that they are pronouncing the vowels and R controlled vowels correct, just so that they get the fluidness of the vowels in there. And some strengths I thought of for this would be students hear the words that represent R controlled vowels through the story. Students receive explicit instruction along with the story. And students are giving a visual aid to look at during the course of the lesson. Also, students can use the story as well as picture to help them remember what sounds the R controlled vowels make. Some weaknesses of this theory are the story is long and requires much participation on the student's part. It requires background teaching if the students do not know vowels or what sounds the vowels make originally. Students may not understand the story and not gain the content of the story that was intended. And students may or may not have the R in their L1, so it may be difficult for them to understand or pronounce it. Excuse me. Some reservations and questions I have would be teaching this lesson to ESL students would require background teaching of the vowels as well as what a vulture is. Some students may not know what that bird is or have ever seen that bird before. Students may not have certain vowels or R sounds in their L1, so that may have to be pre-taught as well. Students may lose interest because they may not fully understand the story. Keeping them engaged during it may be difficult. And the last reservation I would have when teaching this lesson is students may not remember the story or get the vowels mixed up with one another, which may require more explicit explanation of the concept. And then here's my works cited page as well as the YouTube link that I will post to this video after. Thanks. Sorry, I can't hit the pause button.